Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Now, the European Union faces an uncertain and turbulent future in 2025, grappling with internal political instability, geopolitical tensions, and external pressures from an evolving global landscape. Poland's upcoming presidency of the Council of the EU will play a pivotal role in navigating these challenges, with priorities centered on security, EU enlargement, and strengthening ties with global partners. How prepared is the EU for the year ahead? Joining us today on TVP World to discuss these pressing issues is Bartłomiej Kot, Program Director at the Warsaw Security Forum. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Lovely to be here.
So to kick things off, we do see EU's internal political dynamics shifting significantly in the year 2024, especially after these elections. How might this affect the bloc's ability to respond to external challenges with such turbulent times?
Look, we are just right after the Christmas time. Everyone reads Charles Dickens, but it's not about Christmas Carol. When you look at his works, and there is A Tale of Two Cities, it starts with the sentence, it was the worst of times, it was the best of times. And pretty much that's what we are facing. I mean, this is the year of challenges. 2025 will be the year of challenges. 2024 was the year of challenges. The challenges are here not only for us to be unhappy, sad, or actually whining on our activities, but it's also for us to actually to rethink where we are and what our system is prepared for and what our system is not prepared for. As a bloc, when you look ahead to 2025, you have to take into account that security will matter, as it mattered in 2024. The issue here is that, of course, we can engage in discussion about the results of the war in Ukraine, whether the war will end in 2025. But the truth is that we should focus on EU. First of all, economy, competitiveness of European economy, that would be a huge topic. Second issue is, of course, whether the EU will go hand in hand with the US of Donald Trump. And this will have a huge impact on both trade issues and also the result of the war in Ukraine. And the third thing, in my opinion, is, of course, the issue of security. To what extent European Union will be capable of actually being more self-agent, in a sense, when it comes to its own security.
And well, with the Poland's presidency of the Council of EU beginning in January, what are some of the most critical priorities for Poland to kind of lead the EU in such a complex period?
Well, Poland has a lot of things to deliver. Of course, we'll start the year with the presidency of the EU Council, which it is a spotlight on Poland and what Poland wants to the message it wants to deliver. We right now know that security will be the main topic of Polish presidency, which is very much it is a good time to talk about security, also in these different dimensions of it. Not only the military production, not only issues related to the border protection, but also even the things related to health security or security of food chains. So this will be the topics that Poland will be certainly trying to put more light on. But on the other hand, when you look at the situation in both France and Germany, the first part of the year will be hugely under the issues of campaigning in Germany, and of course possibly not stable government, still not stable government in France. So both these issues may hugely impact, of course, the decisiveness of European Union. We as Poles will try to navigate the discussion into the security matters, but I'm a bit worried that the decision-making process might be, of course, affected by the issue of lack of stable governments in both Germany and France. On the other hand, we'll see what will be the first decisions from Donald Trump, and they will certainly impact also the internal discussions in the EU.
You brought up Germany and France and kind of their fragile political situation right there. Of course, a lot of talks about where Europe is going forward should be focused on security, and a lot of talks also are on the war, focusing on the support for the war in Ukraine. Do you think that with this turbulent political situation within those two big major players there, they will still have the same level of political will to provide Ukraine the kind of support it needs? Or do you think the internal turmoil and kind of the falling of their polling numbers will change that dynamic a little bit?
Well, there are two topics in that discussion. The first one is, of course, the political narrative that is both shaping the decision-making process in both of these capitals, in Berlin and in Paris. And the second issue is, of course, to what extent there is a political capital for these actions. When you look at the narratives, both governments, the ones that are still actually governing these countries, are very pro-Ukrainian, very supportive of course, maintaining the level of military, and not only military but also financial support to Ukraine. And the contenders for these positions, when you look at Germany, especially at Friedrich Merz, he has even a more transatlantic approach, even a more pro-Ukrainian approach, and even a more, I would even say, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but certainly more focus on deterrence against Russia. So at least in Germany we can experience a positive scenario, a better scenario from the Polish and from the Ukrainian perspective. But this is sometimes the level of narratives. And then you have the political capital. The issue is that in Germany, for example, the AfD can actually be the second biggest power in the Bundestag. This is a very possible scenario. They will not be a part of the federal government, but they can have an impact on some decision-making process, especially when you look at the challenges that lay ahead of Germany. Some of them very much connected to the systemic changes that the country needs. If there will be a discussion about the necessity to change the constitution, for example, in order to get rid of the financial backstop that there is there in the constitution, this may have to include the decision-making process. Will have to probably include also the discussions with AfD or even the far left party, Sarah-Wagenknecht alliance. So in all of these issues, you also have to take into account that there are certain political trends that will impact the decision-making process in these capitals, and of course, a lot will depend on the U.S. and the idea in which Donald Trump will try to play out the result of the war in Ukraine with the European counterparts. The most important issue for us is certainly to deliver a result of this war that will show to Vladimir Putin that there is a solidarity in the Western world. Yeah. So it's not the decision of the US, it's not the decision of Germany, it's not the decision of France, but it is the decision of the collective West and the Ukrainian allies.
You mentioned the collective West and solidarity. Now, one of the biggest issues when it comes to the Polish presidency going forward is the enlargement of the bloc. But do you think we are ready for that, given that there's still some kind of unity issues within the EU? We're talking about countries like Hungary, for example, or people are starting to show a little bit of kind of disorganization within the bloc itself.
Well, the major policy of the European Union towards the Eastern Europe, because we are mainly focusing on Eastern Europe here, was of course for years the Eastern Partnership. The Eastern Partnership, as it was designed over 15 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, is non-existent anymore. it has evolved from the normative approach towards these countries, willingness, to bring these countries closer to our way of thinking about the rule of law, etc., towards a very geopolitical way of thinking. And the only policy that is actually left there for the European Union to be a decisive and a dominant actor in the eastern neighborhood, it is, basically speaking, the enlargement policy. If the EU will not be able to become a dominant power in this neighborhood, in the eastern part of to the east of its own borders right now, it will have to face the aggressive policy of Russia, and it doesn't matter whether that will be the result of the war in Ukraine will be 100% positive for Ukraine, for us, or for Russia. The aggressive policies from the Kremlin will continue, because for Putin, it is not the Ukraine itself that is causing the threat to his regime. It is the fact that this offer to the East still exists, that these countries may become a part of the Western way of thinking, civilizational issues, etc., etc. From this point of view, we have to focus as the European Union in the upcoming years to deliver a very tangible offer to these countries. An enlargement policy is, basically speaking, the most tangible offer that we have to these countries, and also the most tangible offer for us to play a geopolitical role in our eastern neighborhood. But at the same time, you have a very distinctive approach in Europe. Countries such as Poland are focusing on the Promethean vision towards the east, offering the enlargement without strings attached. Whereas, the western you go from Poland, the more discussion there is about the need for institutional changes before the enlargement even happens. This is right now, in my opinion, the biggest issue in the European Union. I cannot see the support for institutional changes. It's not only Hungary, it's not only Slovakia, it's not only even Poland that is opposing these changes. There were around 13 different governments who said that no to treaty changes. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if we will not be prepared to offer a tangible enlargement of policy towards the Eastern European countries, then we will not become a geopolitical actor in this neighborhood. And this means that Russia will simply speaking, be winning with us in this part of Europe.
Right, so it does sound like a lot of challenges going ahead. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. And thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
World. Cheers. And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.